So they think that maybe there's going to be a consequence from the boss or anything like that. So, something like that comes up. What do you suggest that, because there was one that was going around for a long time that was, it used, I remember this email, it used an old password that, hadn't been used in ever. But it had it, which was odd. And, we know what you've been doing. You've been, doing whatever with pornography or whatever else. And we're going to let these people know and these people know. And, your whole life is going to crumble unless you click this link and give us money. How do they get those passwords? And what do you do when you run into something like that?
So a lot of times where they're getting the passwords is off from the dark web. And if people don't, and even if you're not a business and you don't have someone scanning the dark web, there's plenty of services out there. I know Experian, for one, offers it, some identity monitoring of some kind. You really need to have this. When we do dark web scans for people, we pull back tons of passwords that have been on sale for the last 5 years on the dark web, and people just don't know. Because if they've never seen their card come up or they've never seen anything bad happen from it, they don't know those records are for sale. But people are making money on them, and God forbid that you're actually still using one of those passwords, right? Then they're going to have access to your systems. Generally, when someone sends you an email and says, I have this, they're trying to trick you, because if they had an active password that gave them access to their account, they would never tell you that, right?
So what is this dark web? I hear a lot about it referred to. What is the dark web? Is it just, I don't know what that is.
So when we look at the web, we have the web that we all know when we search during the day on Google, and we go to CNN or wherever we go and get our news, and Amazon and so forth. And then below that what is what we would call the deep web, and that's where you have to log into something, right? So if you're in your bank account, those aren't public. They're only for you, and they have an extra layer of security to them for you to log in. There are hundreds, thousands of marketplaces that don't have wonderful names like Amazon, right? They have a string of characters and numbers, and if you know what that string is, you have a directory to get there, you're going to use a special browser and go there. And it's where people are doing basically a lot of the illegal things that you hear about. Credit card records, Social Security numbers, drug trade, all kinds of terrible things happen there because it's fairly anonymous for the most part. Unless you're the FBI or CIA, you're not going to get in there and track anybody down. And so those records are worth money. If I have your credit card record, that's worth, this many dollars a record and so on and so forth. The reason why we always hear about medical is because their records are more expensive. So if you get somebody's medical records, you're going to get $1,200 compared to like $200 for those records. And so that's why you hear about that. But that's where all of that information is bought and sold 24/7, 365. And so if you have credentials in the dark web, you definitely want them to be changed and not reused or shared anywhere else because someone's going to buy access to your accounts.
Well, and I've noticed, the multi-factor authentication, which is something that we adopted here, deployed here maybe 5 months ago, 4 months ago, something like that. And, you got to use a fingerprint. You got to use something goes to your phone. But even a lot of softwares, QuickBooks Online, they use multi-factor now. There's accountants that have portals and different things like that. You have to authenticate to prove who you are. And, that multi-factor authentication, what all does that do? So
basically what you're doing is you're saying, if you get my password somewhere, that's not going to be enough for you to get into my account, right? Generally speaking, with two-factor, it's either a key fob situation or it's directly to an app on your phone, most likely an app on your phone, asking for either a code for you to enter or to use your fingerprint biometric that way to authenticate who you are, right? And generally speaking, this is really inconvenient, okay? People do not like having to do this when they're trying to log in to their websites and so forth. But it decreases your chance of a simple password being on the dark web being used against you to steal your information. It's going to make you a lot safer. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But it's going to make you a great deal safer.
So you're talking about a lot of these different things, and there's so much to go through. And being a small business, which this radio station is a small business, I know that you're already busy doing so much other stuff. You want to just be able to say, okay, look, I bought this stupid computer. I bought all the softwares. I bought antivirus software. Now I've got to do all this. Are there easier ways? Are there services out there? And I know your book is a big deal on how small businesses in particular can be able to protect themselves against this stuff. Tell me about your book and if it's possible for small businesses to be able to figure all this out, even if they're not techie people.
It is. And there are certainly organizations out there like mine that are designed and built to help small and medium-sized businesses combat these challenges. I wrote the first book because really in my first 5 years of doing this business, what I realized quite quickly was there's a giant educational gap between large and small business. So I came from an enterprise-level hospital situation in IT. When I started talking to small businesses, it wasn't even a conversation about we're missing this piece and this piece. It's we don't have anything. And so I wrote the first book so that people could get in regular English, no techie speak, idea about what the threats were and what were some things that they could start right now very easily in their organizations to protect them. I actually have a new book coming out next week. Cyberstorm will be out on Amazon, and I've teamed up with 12 other authors to write an in-detail manual for small businesses on what they need to do, what they can do themselves, what they should look to outsource, and then specifics for people with compliance if you're in medical or you're in finance, and those type of things. I really think education is a major piece to this. We have a lot of technology to protect folks, but there's a huge gap in the understanding that we should have between business and what their risk is.
Absolutely. And Paul Tracey, I thank you so much. This is really a public service, for a lot of people. When the Missouri Broadcasters Association, came up and basically repeated all the different things that the White House had said that folks need to do, I immediately sent it out to the staff here like, see, what we just went through like 5 months ago, this is why. And I think it's really, really important for folks to know this. Paul Tracey, name of the book coming up is Cyberstorm. That'll be published soon. And where can people find you online, Paul?
They can find me by Googling Paul Tracey. There's only a couple of us on the Internet, it appears, or going to upstatetechsupport.com if you're in New York and need some help. We're happy to help you.
All right. Thank you so much. Very beneficial conversation today. And you have a great, it's almost the weekend, sir. Enjoy it.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. Thank you. And right now, we're going to go to the news.